I'm just going to start off by saying, I don't really like talking about this. But as you become a mature adult, I don't want to say mature because I still read comic books and wear Snoopy socks. So as you become an adult, you realize that the things that you don't like to talk about are very often the things that you should talk about. It's confronting your dragon. And when you confront your dragon, you have to either slay it or make peace with it, if you want to be the hero of your story. And like I said, I read comic books, so I like to be the hero. All right, so what's so uncomfortable to talk about? Well, it's the feeling of being misplaced when you're of mixed race. Like you're pieces of this and parts of that, but ultimately your pieces and your parts don't really fit anywhere. So humor has always been my superpower. And when you're funny, people kind of let you fit in. But that also leaves you feeling like if you're not entertaining, you're not safe. In the past, when I would talk about my mixed heritage, it would be in some sort of self-deprecating way. Sort of like Eminem in 8 Mile. I would make fun of myself first before anyone else could do it. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be making a lot of pop culture references, so if you're less than 35, you might want Google like very handy. People can't really place me, and they'll ask me, what are you? And I'll be like, well, I'm human, or I'm Batman. Michael Keaton, 89, you might Google it. And then I'll say, I'm half Puerto Rican and half Italian. That's why I'm so calm and mild-mannered. Or I'll make jokes like, hey, you know why Latinos are so good at cleaning? Because we clean to salsa and it makes us move faster. That's true, I do it every Sunday, highly recommend it. Or I'll say, I have superior taste buds because I'm Italian. Or if you need something, I always know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. My mom is Puerto Rican and my dad's Italian. And as much as I really love both sides of my heritage, being mixed can make you feel very mixed up. Too much of this, maybe too little of that, and we all want to belong somewhere. I started really noticing these sort of mixed feelings when I got to high school. Not only do you experience racism, but you feel racism. And when you're considered what's called white passing, you bear witness to a lot of it. Like an infiltrator on both sides, like a racism double agent. I'll admit, I would see the difference between how I was treated and how my dark-skinned friends or Afro-Latinos are treated. And I know sometimes we grew up in very different Americas. Though, you know, as a Latin woman, you go through your fair share of stuff too. I mean, we are fetishized, over-sexualized, and worse, compared to J-Lo at like every waking moment. I'll admit, it's still not as painful as being judged merely over the color of your skin. I'd be with a group of friends and they would say something like super racist, and I'd be like, guys, you know, I'm Latina. Yeah, but you're not really Latina. What, like there's a whole half of my family that doesn't exist? I mean, what? Or I don't fit the stereotypes that you're used to seeing on TV. So now I'm insulted two ways. Am I insulted because I'm Latina, or am I insulted because you don't think I'm Latina, or should I be insulted because you don't think you insulted me? After high school, I got into acting. And that's a whole nother fit-the-box kind of racism. People can't really place me. So now Hollywood calls this ethnically ambiguous. And it actually really has gotten better. But when I started, like 15 years ago, not aging myself, but 15 years ago when I started, these were the Latin options for casting. Video hoe, drug dealer's girlfriend, pregnant, the pregnant drug dealer's girlfriend in the music video. And I was always asked to speak in some phony baloney accent that only like 2% of Latinos even sound like. It really actually wasn't even that much better for the Italian side. People would say, you should audition for The Sopranos. Like there's nothing else that Italians do than join the mafia. I mean, what is going on? Why does everything have to fit in a box? Are there no mixed people in the world of film and television? And on top of that, we're talking about boxes. Every form I have ever filled out has asked me to pick a side. I mean, there's no mixed box. Do I color in both sides? Nowhere on this thing does it say multiple choice. I know. I think about it all the time. And I know that I'm talking about my Latino side quite a bit, but let's face it, it's kind of easier to be white. Now, calm down, white people. I am not saying that your life is not hard. We all have our fair share of stuff. I'm just saying that more often than not, your ethnicity isn't always a factor in how difficult it is. And on top of it, I mean, you don't get a lot of flack from the Italian side if you don't speak the language. But if you're Latino and you don't speak Spanish, I hear you, yes. I see it. You get a look like you have turned your back on your people. I don't know what the Latino version of like that samurai suicide is, but I'm sure it involves a chancleta in some way. When you're a kid, you try to assimilate. So from generation to generation, things dilute quite a bit. And I feel like the language died when my grandmother did. And guys, that is not an excuse. That is a huge source of my shame. To not even be able to communicate with my fellow Latinos, to not even be able to give directions when I'm asked, and even worse, even if I can, I don't, because of fear that the conversation will go beyond my limited capacities. I have tried to learn Spanish so many times, and each time I fail miserably because there's 800 versions of Spanish, dialects, accents, slang, and Dominicans. Could you slow down just a little? Just a little. One time, I called my best friend and fellow Latina, Antonia, like hysterical crying. I'm like, I'm trying to learn Spanish and I can't learn it. I know that onion is cebolla, but I called it cebolo, and now everyone's calling me cebolo. She was like, listen, I get it. I understand why it's so hard. You're putting a huge amount of pressure on yourself, and things are always harder to learn when you're not having any fun. And that is when it hit me. My Latino friends, my Latinx friends, have never judged me. They've never looked at me like I was any less Latino. I mean, sure, some people weren't always kind, but I just got rid of those people. Oh, I just realized that sounded like I killed them. No, I didn't kill them. See, yeah. She's over there like, she sleeps with the fishes. Google Godfather, guess you don't, yeah. No, I just realized that they never really judged me, because that's what friends do. They love you for your parts, your pieces, your quirks that make you you. My friends never looked at me as less than. They looked at me as some sort of just weird little hybrid. And I loved that. They would say things like, oh man, Puerto Rican and Italian? Christmas must be awesome at your house. Those are my two favorite foods. Or at the martial arts schools that I train, they'd be like, that's why you're so tough. Or my current acting manager, Gail, would say, what a beautiful combination. There's so much you can do. The people in your life, man, they make such a difference. So I was like, well, they love me. I'm going to stop thinking of myself as mixed. And I'm going to think of myself as some weird little hybrid. So I 23andMe'd myself. I don't know if you don't know what that means, but you send in a swab of your DNA, and then they tell you all the places that you're linked to. Now, I know, conspiracy theorists, you're worried about the cloning. Well, where's the camera? Hey, if you do clone me, make me taller. Oh, and tell me in my 20s, don't date any DJs or magicians. What's today's current version of that? Crypto guys? Crypto guys. None of those. Well, 23andMe was awesome. I found out all of these places that my DNA was linked to. It was like the Canary Islands, Nigeria, places, special spots of Italy. There was Aztec blood. All of this stuff made so much sense, and no longer did I feel mixed up. I had this burning desire to explore. I wanted to travel and learn and understand the history, and here's the coolest part. Not only did I learn about my Puerto Rican and my Italian side, there was Ashkenazi Jew. Yeah, and if you understand my family's obsession with Seinfeld, it makes a lot of sense. Because he's a god. I loved it. I felt special, and I felt the history of people coursing through my veins. How cool is heritage? How amazing is planet Earth? To think that people travel distant lands to settle somewhere and create lives. We are all contributors to this big, giant, floating rock. Which means we should be much more grateful of each other, more tolerant, and think that this is pretty cool. I love my Puerto Rican side. I love the warmth of my people. I love the smell of the food. I love the music you cannot stop moving to. I love listening to Mark Anthony in the living room with my mother. And I love the affection of my friends. I love my Italian side. I love that the smell of basil will forever remind me of my dad. I love our jokes and our talks, and I love the idea of a Sunday dinner together. The world's a hybrid. I have made peace with my dragon, even though he bites me every once in a while, usually when someone's asking me for directions in Spanish. But I've made peace with him because I realize that my pieces and my parts are part of my personal puzzle. And I am a unique mix of heritage, places, experiences, and most importantly, the love and support of my friends and family. These pieces make me whole. Thank you.